gang case that we had in D.C., which was the R Street crew.
Guy who was a close confidential source of mine, who I'd locked up and, turned him around, if you want to call it that, was just really a great guy. But his best friend was murdered, and his best friend was not in the game. And he was murdered by the R Street crew. It was Kevin Fitzgerald Williams Davis was one of the bosses. Another guy named Anthony Nugent. Thank God both of them are still in prison. They would have a meeting and decide who got killed. They sold drugs. They sold heroin. They sold coke. They sold PCP-laced weed. They sold everything, that was available to sell. They were vicious. One of the Williams brothers was nuts. They were, serious bad guys. And they controlled the neighborhood. They killed a guy in the neighborhood in 1985 in front of 30 witnesses, and nobody said. What we found when we got into it was these guys were getting dope from the Colombian cartel, from the Cali. And, we also found that they were getting, heroin from some source up in, another source up in New York, and they were getting some additional crack from the boys out west, the 8-Trade Gangster Crips. And they were getting PCP manufactured by a Crip out in LA. And so we're like, we got to do more than just, one quick hit. We got to do a real racketeering case on this. In other words, so at the same time, the RICO statutes are being used in New York going after the mobsters. I'm looking at this case like, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to do this. And we're going to have to do it, the old-fashioned way. We're going to have to do everything. We're going to have to, go after search warrants. We're going to have to hit their houses. We're going to have to figure out a way to scare the hell out of them because they're going to kill all the witnesses. Because we ended up needing insiders to talk and tell the truth about what was going on. And we found them because they were people that were scared. They were, they knew that if they said anything to us, they would get killed. We started with surveillance and with undercover buys. And the undercover buys were fairly straightforward. We had either police officers, or we'd have undercover, confidential sources that would actually go and buy drugs from the guys that we knew who were being supplied by them. We would then hit those guys' houses with search warrants. If we'd found a lot of drugs on their house, which we almost every time did, we'd put the heat on them. They'd be facing 20 years in prison if they had, several ounces of crack. So we were like, what do you want to do? You want to do 20 years? And almost all of them said, no, I'll tell you everything. That part of it was not all that hard. I mean, drug cases are not that hard to make. What became hard was the fear, that level of fear that we were constantly being beat up against. And then on top of that, right in the middle of it, we found the mule for the Cali cartel. And he came to us because the crew, had tried to kill him. Now, meanwhile, he's the guy that's responsible for the drugs coming from the Cali cartel. And they're going to kill him because they were pissed off because he wouldn't give them a discount on their coke, which he didn't have control of. He was just, he was acting as a middleman for the Cali folk to D.C. And, the R Street crew said, well, you got to give it to us at a discount. And he's like, man, I can't discount anything. I do what they tell me to do. They shot at him. And so he came to us right after that happened and said, y'all got to help me. And so we said, okay. but you got to do this, this, and this. And he got all nervous and pissed off and said, I don't want to do it. Well, then the agent, the drug agent who had talked to him originally, she was very, very deeply involved in understanding what he'd done, because she had done all the interviews with him. And she says, well, the hell with it. We'll just search his house. And so we did. She got a search warrant on his house, scared the living shit out of him. And from that point on, he was fine, because we found evidence of exactly what he was telling us. You're talking about a mindset at that level when they're making all sorts of money. I mean, Kevin Davis was wearing $6,000 shoes, alligator shoes, and fancy silk suits and stuff stuff that and everybody in the whole group was driving, like fancy BMWs and stuff like that. I'm like, look, you're doing better than me money-wise, but this is crazy, because y'all are making money off of all these people that you're just crushing, scaring the hell out of, and if you don't like them, you shoot them. We got to a point where we ran an undercover operation where they were going to meet the so-called contact, the Cali cartel contact from New York. Turns out we turned that contact into a beautiful FBI agent. So we were supposed to get both Kevin and Anthony Nugent to that meeting, but it turns out that Kevin got hinky because he was getting inside information from somebody inside law enforcement. Okay. So Nugent shows up and we take his ass down. Then we locked up a bunch of guys, and Kevin left town and, scooted. So we had to find him. And he turned up out in California. We got a call from an informant out there that told us where he was, and we went out there and snatched his ass up. And we had both the two bosses of the crew in custody. But then we had to do our grand jury on it. So it took us, several months to put everything in the grand jury, because it was a racketeering case. It was not your standard, 2-bit drug case. It was so, and then we had 3 or 4 crimes of violence. I had to figure out ways to talk crime victims who had been shot and left D.C., had to find ways to talk them into coming back to D.C. to testify for us. That wasn't easy. 45-year-old mother, registered nurse living in D.C., her oldest son was murdered by them, and her second oldest son was shot and seriously wounded, and she sent him down to South Carolina to hide out. And he had been hiding out since '85. This was 1990. She was watching my case throughout the whole time. And she was doing it through one of my people that was cooperating with me at the time. And so finally, when I'm getting ready to go into this grand jury phase at the end of the arrest of the 2 main guys, she says, or the source comes to me and says, Bertha wants to talk to you. So I met her. It was like secret squirrel. And, she's given up her 2 sons. One, of course, was already dead. But, we're talking bravery. We're not talking about, she's a rat and a snitch. That's crap. She said, I'm putting my son in your hands. And if you do anything wrong, I will deal with you. One mom of a bunch of the guys, she was with the Marshals program, so I couldn't use the Marshals program. I had to take care of it all on, out of our funds. And so I was going to have to I'd sit down with, some lady and her children, 2 or 3 children, who used to run a stash house for these guys and got locked up for it and did some time for running a stash house. And I said to her, I need you to talk. And she says, how can I talk? They'll kill me. And I said, well, let's talk. Let's talk about that. I can protect you. She says, how are you going to? I said, I'll move you anywhere you want to go. As long as they were sitting in D.C., knowing that I'm putting pressure on the crew, that the crew was thinking, we got to clean up our mess. They would go around and kill people. That's what they would do. So I said, well, I'm just going to have to get you out of here right now, and I want to move. So, and like in this lady I'm thinking of's case, she had people down in Florida, moved her to Florida. In the Panhandle, like, right around Panama City. Point is that she's okay there. She's never returned. She's never gotten into trouble again. After we got the two main guys, then we went to the grand jury and got all the indictments that we needed to get. But then the local TV station decided that they needed to run a story on the R Street crew, and that they knew somehow that we were going to lock them all up. Well, then I had a list of like 20 guys, actually 30 guys that I had to lock up. And I said, if they're going to do that, if they're going to run the name of all the people that we're going to arrest, I'm going to have to get them before they hit the four winds. So between the time that we heard that the newspaper article or the news article was going to hit until the next morning, I was working. And I got search warrants from the judge and arrest warrants at like 11 o'clock at night, and all night long we were locking people up. And we got everybody but one. And we locked up like 30 guys. We ended up with 12 guys that we had to go to trial on, including the two top guys. So we had 2 6-month-long trials. Each trial was 6 months long. And we had over 100 witnesses in each one of the trials. Guys that we cut deals with didn't talk either. We gave them the normal run-of-the-mill deal. They had to do 5, 6 years, whatever it was. We charged them with a serious felony, but they weren't like big players in the group. So we were like, look, we don't need your help, and we really don't want your help because you're a piece of garbage. But you can take 5 years, or you can take a chance on life without parole, because that's what they were facing.
My partner, John Kerr, and some of the other guys on my squad worked on other cases, the P Street crew, and then we also did the First Street crew with my partners from the D.C. Police, Angela Parisi, and a couple of other police officers and detectives that were with us. We had formed the Safe Streets Task Force to deal with the problems of violence in the city, and we decided that we should go after the most significant targets that we could, either the gang itself or the gang that was responsible for the most violence. And so after we had been successful in the R Street crew investigation and the First Street crew investigation, which both involved a lot of violence and a drug operation that was fairly extensive, the D.C. Police captain of homicide asked me to take on Wayne Perry.
Wayne Perry was considered the Michael Jordan of the murder game.
He told me about the first murder he ever did, and it was a very strange murder, but a case that to be honest with you, I've never been able to prove or verify, but the details were such that I feel like it happened exactly like he said. But he was 14 years old, and he was running a little group of hooligans. But Perry, again, wanted to control this little group of thugs that he had working with him, who were all just basically Southwest, juvenile delinquents in D.C. So his cousin said to him one day, I need you to kill my partner. And Perry looked at him and said, why me? He says, because if you kill him, they won't do anything to you. They may send you to juvenile jail or something like that, but it won't be anything bad, and, you've never been arrested for anything, so, they won't even know you're with it. And Perry said, well, I'll do it if you give me a gun, and I can keep the gun because I want to be able to threaten my partners down here, the guys that I have working for me. And so the cousin agreed to it and gave him a gun, called him to go to the northeast section of D.C., an area called Woodridge, which is a neighborhood up off of Rhode Island Avenue, and meet up with him and this guy that was the intended victim. Perry said that I was supposed to just stay there with the guy so that my cousin could go off and get him, develop a an alibi, and then I was supposed to ask the guy to buy me an ice cream or something like that, just to get him walking away from the house, and I could shoot him anywhere I wanted to along that route. And that was the plan. And Perry followed the plan, right away. And he said he walked with the guy down to this little mom and pop grocery store in the neighborhood and watched him walk into the basement. And as soon as his head got at the level that he could see, just nothing but the back of his head, he pulled the gun out and emptied it into the guy's head. Now, this was with a .22 caliber revolver. Perry, as soon as he shot the guy, just saw him drop and ran, and gets back to the place where he was supposed to meet his cousin, opens the gun up and realizes the shell casings are all still in the gun. So he starts to cry. And I said, Wayne, why'd you start to cry? He said, because I didn't know anything about guns or revolvers or anything like that, and I thought I'd somehow screwed up because the bullets were still in the gun. He didn't realize that the shell casings, would stay in the revolver. Wayne Perry was one of our most prolific killers in D.C. during the time when the violence in D.C. had just gotten completely out of control back in 1989, 1990, 91. He was somebody we knew basically from our informant base and our confidential source base that was supposed to be just involved in almost every murder that happened in D.C. It was almost impossible for a serious drug dealer to be killed in D.C. that somebody didn't call in and say, Wayne Perry did it. This one murder of a guy named Froggy, named James Henson, they'd had an eyewitness to the murder, and she identified Perry as the shooter, and they put her in the grand jury to testify. They did everything they could to protect her, but he kidnapped her and drove her over into the southeast section of D.C., shot and killed her, and dumped her on the side of the road.
They said this guy Wayne Perry had guys shooting themselves. This guy, instant fear, you hear me? Instant fear. This kid was strong, man. He would kill certain dudes that were popular with the women. Right. Just so they could have a funeral because he knew all the girls was going to come to the funeral. Get out of here. I'm telling you.
When we talk about killing, how many people are we talking about?
He was responsible for 50 or more killings.
The R Street crew immediately led into the First Street crew, which we got that group done right after R Street. And we did, a close friend of mine, an associate, did the P Street crew, which involved a guy named Kenneth Ray Bryant, who was another scary killer that DC, had, operating at the same time. Mm-hmm. And during the course of all of those investigations, Wayne Perry was the beast over the top of all of it.
Just his rep alone, he was boning half the town, and he used to have girls, like I used to have girls he used to want to bone, so I used to switch off with him, like, okay, well, I want to bone one for me. I don't want to bone one for me. Okay, well, I got her for you, you get her for me. And he used to just tell them, because them girls used to be like, Wayne, I love you. Once they told him that, and if I wanted them, he used to be like, you love me? Then bone my man and show me how much you love me. And I used to bone girls just because they used to say he loved them. And they were showing him how much they loved him. Okay. By boning me. And you know me, I used to be like, yo, my man wants you. Go ahead and get that. And they knew after they finished I was going to hit them off. He's going to hit them off. So his rep alone, girls just wanted to be with him.
We knew that Martinez and Perry were responsible for the murder of Demencio Benson, Michael Salters, the drug dealer I was telling you about, and these were both in July of 91. Then they were responsible for the murder of Evelyn Carter, and then responsible for the murder of Yolanda Burley, and then Alveda Hopkins, the young woman who had testified against Perry. He finally got around to killing her. So all of this happened the summer before we locked up Martinez. We had a couple of breaks that happened right around that same time. We recovered a Q-45 Infinity that Perry had gotten in payment for another murder he had done almost a year earlier. And then in that Q-45 Infinity, we recovered the weapon that was used to kill Michael Salters. So that was the first piece of solid forensic evidence that we got that we knew would connect him with all of these string of murders that we knew they were responsible for. in the summer. The next thing that we found out about was a Mazda van that they were driving around and using as kind of the FBI laboratory referred to it as a murder van. And we had our forensic team go over it, top to bottom. And they really said that it looked like more than one person had been murdered inside the van. In Perry's case, for example, he didn't trust Dozier, okay? And he was put in jail for a short time in Prince George's County. We held him on a really sort of a low-level drug charge in Prince George's County, just while we were getting our ducks in a row to charge him with the big indictment later. Right. And while he's being held in custody in Prince George's County, he has a young man named Sean Branch that comes and visits him in jail.
A man police and prosecutors call one of the most notorious murderers to walk the streets of D.C. was sent to prison today. Sean Branch was sentenced for first-degree murder and related gun charges. As Joe Krebs reports, getting this far in the Branch case has proved to be a challenging task.
Police and prosecutors say Sean Branch is a violent man.
I saw Sean Branch's name on the visitor's log because I was, constantly monitoring Perry's activities in prison or jail or wherever he was. I just was like, what the hell is he talking to Sean Branch for? Sean Branch was another one of these really sort of prolific killers in D.C. that we had, as a squad, had targeted. What I found out later was that Perry had told Sean Branch that Thomas Dozier needed to be killed, and they could probably get Michael Salter's nephew to do the murder just by telling him that Dozier was the one responsible for Salter's murder.
Wow.
Daryl Salters, who was Michael Salter's nephew, almost within days of that meeting between Sean Branch and Wayne Perry in jail, went to the Benning Road apartment complex that Thomas Dozier was living in at the time, and just shot him about 50 times, with an assault rifle.
FBI Detective Dan O'Reilly, when he spoke about when I went to go see Wayne when he was up in Marlboro, when I went up there and asked him about that situation with Demencio. And he threw some names out there, you know what I mean? What the detective said in the interview that me and Wayne discussed on a visit, that was false.
Anything Sean Branch tells you is going to be self-serving to Sean Branch, which is fine. If I could have charged him with his participation in a murder, I would have definitely done it. But I'm partly responsible for the fact that he got convicted of the Michael Green case.
Okay.
Partly. Because I gave the guys who were working the case the right witness in the Michael Green case. But they also had him charged with the Monty Glenn murder, and somehow he got off of that. And he also beat another case because the witness who testified against him testified in a hearing testified in a trial on Friday afternoon. And he went home for the weekend because court, took off the weekend. And lo and behold, the witness got killed over the weekend, and they never got an opportunity to cross-examine that witness. Now, how do you think that happened? He said he went to talk to Wayne about Demencio Benson's murder. That's what he said he did.
Demencio Benson, yes.
All right. Now, let me tell you something. He and Wayne were on the street together for months before Wayne got locked up. And he rightfully would have gone if he wanted to talk to him about Demencio Benson. Demencio Benson had died a year earlier, remember? Demencio Benson got killed in summer of 91.
Yeah.
All right. Sean's out at least by April of 92. Wayne doesn't get locked up until mid-July, of 92. So he has 2 or 3 months that if he needs to go talk to Wayne about his friend Demencio, he could do it not in the Prince George's County Jail, which is, if you're going to talk to somebody about a murder, it's probably not a good idea to go talking to them in jail over the phones that could be, tape recorded. I wish they were, but they weren't. That's just an unfortunate circumstance of that particular jail at that particular time. But the bottom line is his story doesn't make any sense.
But then how?
And
Okay.
Thomas Dozier dies a week later. Oh, I know the conversation took place because I had the logs at the time. I had the logs from the jail. I'm like, what the hell is, because I'm talking to the guys who are working Sean Branch. I'm like, what the hell is Sean Branch visiting Wayne? Because I got just, they would periodically send me his visitor's log. And so I'm getting this, I'm like, and so I'm talking to the guys who are working Sean, and they're like, we don't know what they're talking about. Dozier gets killed. I was trying to talk to the U.S. Attorney's Office into letting me go at Dozier again because Wayne's locked up, and I figured now's the time to get Dozier and enroll him because he would be able to tell us, how he got Frey's the gun that killed Frey. I thought I was right. I would have locked his ass up back then for it, except that he already got locked up for killing Michael Green. So the point is that, everything was working at that. We didn't know who killed Thomas Dozier until I got called months after it all happened, and they told me Poochie did it. I said, why in the hell did Poochie do it? Dozier didn't have anything to do with killing Frey. And then it all sort of struck me. Now, later on, I talked to Wayne. And all I can say is Wayne told me what he told me about the whole circumstance.
And it involves Sean Branch, you're saying?
Yeah.
Perry pled guilty to 5 CCE homicides, which are murders in the furtherance of a continuing criminal enterprise. It's a sort of a drug homicide, for lack of anything else you'd call it. But once he pled to those, the plea agreement was that he would get life without parole and never have the possibility of parole 5 times, and that he would never be charged with anything in D.C. again. And so I began at that point to go and try to conduct interviews with him while he was in custody. In the first place that I talked to him was down in Petersburg, Virginia. And I used that sort of nice approach that he had said to me, saying that I'd love to talk to you about all this, but, I have to wait till all this court stuff goes. So I basically took him up on that. I said, Wayne, why don't you tell me about all the cases that you were responsible for, and that way nobody else will get charged with anything that you did. He said, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. He said, so we talked for the first time down in Petersburg, Virginia, and it was several-hour interview. And he told me at that point that he was responsible for at least 50 homicides and that he would talk about cases that he personally had done, but he wouldn't go much further than that. He wouldn't talk about murders that he had done with other people, which were fairly extensive. So I took down...
And why was that?
Well, he was not going to snitch. That was his, moral, ethical... standard. He wasn't going to snitch. He liked the idea of closing the cases because he didn't want anybody being charged with anything that he had done. And so that's the approach that I had with him. And, I'm looking at that point, he's saying 50 homicides. A couple of things happened after that interview, but he ended up getting transferred into the custody of the Bureau of Prisons, and they sent him first to Marion, where he was the cellmate for John Gotti. And then they ended up shipping him from Marion out to Florence, Colorado, to the Supermax out there. That's when he told me that he had actually done 100 homicides with him, personally and with friends over the years. And so he ended up, between the two interviews, gave me details enough to close about 30 homicides. And so that's kind of where it sort of ended. A New York drug dealer by the name of Albert Geddes Martinez moved from New York to the D.C. area. And he started supplying drugs to various drug dealers in the D.C. area and also in Fredericksburg, Virginia. He got immediately targeted and shot by some Northeast killers that Perry knew. but wasn't really close with. And this put Martinez in a bad position.
In D.C.
D.C. was definitely not a town to play with. They didn't think twice about laying you out of D.C. You got to put the murder game down. So that's how come I recruited Wayne, because I wasn't ready to put the murder game down all like that. So once I recruited Wayne, they already knew his rep. Things started getting kind of crazy for me. I was into, like my little man Pop, I was introduced to him by some other cats, and he was a young, wild 15-year-old kid coming out Southeast that was killing anything moving. And he just wanted to be up under somebody that was going to look out for him. Okay. So I wound up taking him up under my wing and looking out for him, and through him I wound up meeting another cat named Wayne Perry. Okay. Now this kid here, I mean, he had the town on lock, and I mean, he had the town locked on fear and was putting his murder game down. Okay. You hear me? Anyone who mentioned his name knew, when they mentioned his name, they mentioned murder in the same sentence, because he was about his work. And didn't have no problem with talking about it and telling everybody, and didn't care. And if you tried to go testify or tell on him, he was getting you. So the young kid Pop wound up coming to me saying, "Yo, my man is in jail, this and that." So his bail was like something. I think I had to pay like 10%, which was like $10,000. Okay. I wound up giving up the whole $10,000 because I seen the bigger picture.
Right.
I said, if I get this kid out and the reputation that he has, then all that'll come on my side.
Right.
So I wound up giving up the whole 10, and it was a 10 well worth it. So I wound up getting him out. I didn't really step to him as soon as I got him out. I just let it be known to my little man. We wound up
15-year-old man know him?
Because my little man had an uncle that knew him.
Okay.
So my little man had the reputation of being wild and about his business. So his uncle was wild too, my little man's uncle. And him and the kid Wayne knew each other.
Okay.
So, and then Wayne, that's how he met him, and Wayne knew what my little man was about. So, you know, killers respect killers and all that type of thing. More to Wayne alive than dead.
Right.
So once he knew I paid his bill, once he knew the love I had for him, and I paid his bill, and I started putting him in cars again, because he used to hustle once upon a time, but he fell off.
Okay.
So once he seen I was putting him back in cars and all that, and feeding him, and he was feeding his kids and all that, and he had paper in his pocket and all that, and all the rumors, and he knew I was hearing rumors about, because they used to call him Silky. His name was Silky. Wayne Perry, they used to call him Silky Slim.
Okay.
Because they used to say he was smooth, and he used to put them clothes together and all that, and throw them outfits on. So people used to come to me, that's why they call him Silky, because he's smooth, Paul. You're not going to know when it's coming.
There was only one murder that was done in front of people, and that was the murder of Demencio Benson. And it was at a basketball tournament up at 7th and O, Northwest D.C., and there were 100,000 people there. Not 100,000, but there were thousands of people at this tournament, and nobody saw anything, of course.
So that's how fearful people were of.
Yeah, and it was a murder that was right out in front of everybody. But interestingly enough, Benson was a New Yorker, and the reason that he was killed was because he had spotted Martinez, and Martinez knew who he was, knew that he would immediately call the guy in New York who was gunning for him. So Martinez told that to Perry, and Perry said, "Don't worry about it." And that's how it proceeded, and that's how Benson got killed.
Demencio was a situation where he really disrespected himself, and he disrespected other people, and that's why that happened to him. Okay. Yeah, he thought he was tougher than what he really was. But I ain't play with them Brooklyn dudes.
You ain't play with them?
Nah. I ain't. They were cool. I had some cool ones that came up out of Brooklyn, but I just always remembered as a kid how Brooklyn used to like to rob you and all that.
Right.
How they was always known for robbing you. So that kind of like stuck with me in my time. But I met some cool getting money dudes out of Brooklyn without a doubt.
Okay. Who hit him?
My man that was down with
Wayne Perry?
Not Wayne, but the kids that was up on the wing. Wayne. Too many people knew him as far as right there, so we got one of his little soldiers to hit him. But I was shaking his hand. I told him, I said, when you see me shaking his hand, I nod my head. You hit him right.
You never feared that one of the bullets would slip off and maybe hit you?
No, I didn't care about that. I was shaking his hand. It was enough because they walked right up on him. I mean, it wasn't no like from a distance. As I was shaking his hand,
They walked right on him and put the gun right to his forehead and blasted.
Dre was like a big brother to me, a father figure, a mentor. You know, he had my best interest 100. Wasn't no shady shit, none of that shit. A good man. We fuck with New York niggas from Brooklyn. We had cut them off, started fucking with Ego cousin Mookie, over Southeast. You know what I'm saying? So we was fucking with anybody had some shit for real that can serve us, and the shit was decent. We ran across Kurt. He turned us on to Alpo the Rat. I'm gonna say Alpo the Rat was not the plug, but somebody to go to, because when it was time to come down, we tried to buy 50 joints from that nigga. He couldn't even serve us. So I wouldn't even call that a plug. He was limited to only getting 33 joints. We was trying to buy 50 from the rat ass nigga. He couldn't even serve us. He got killed basically over jealousy and hate about Alpo the Rat and Big Ed Gary. Also got killed over, the main reason was two hoes, you dig? Which was Dre girl, Michelle at that time, and Big Ed Gary baby mother Caprice. And we cut Alpo the Rat off one day because he couldn't serve us. We tried to get 50 joints from him, he couldn't serve us. So we had cut him off. So from that point on, he kept beeping us, putting different numbers in. We was like, nah, that shit too high, nigga. So he seen my nigga Dre, girl Michelle at the pool party, and turned around and tried to talk to her. And she was like, nah, I'm engaged, this, that, and that. Big Ed Gary, you know my fiance. Big Ed Gary say, fuck that nigga. So Michelle came home and told my nigga Dre what happened. So my nigga Dre was like, man, Big Ed Gary with that shit, I'ma fuck dead bitch. And I'm gonna show them niggas you don't need no money to fuck dead bitch. So I like, what you gonna fuck, Fuzzy? He was like, nah, I'm gonna fuck Big Ed Gary bitch, Caprice. So I bet, put that dick in the whore. Long story short, it came out that Dre was fucking. She told Gary on some hating shit. Gary was fucking with this uptown broad. So Gary was mad at Dre crying. So we met up with Gary one day down the carnival. Him and Dre was talking. He told Dre, man, to stop fucking this bitch. He apologized for saying, fuck Dre. So they squashed it. It supposed to been over with. Dre wasn't supposed to fuck Caprice no more. I look at Dre like, man, fuck her one more last time. Fuck it. That's what I'm gonna do. So Dre fucked the whore one last time, and that was it. He cut her off. Now, Michelle get mad at my nigga Dre, because Dre baby mother Keita's pregnant now. So Dre was like, yeah, she pregnant. You can't have no baby, so, you know, I still love you and marry you. So she went behind Dre back and cheated with Alpo the Rat. My nigga Dre found out, set Michelle down, and was like, check this out. If you go over there again, man, stay over there. Because if that nigga Alpo the Rat under investigation, I don't want them to get on our tail because of you. And you over there with your BMW and your car. So Michelle went on underground, went hiding. I ain't come out of nothing. So Poe missed that pussy in here, whatever he was doing to it, he missed it. So Caprice mad at Dre, my nigga Dre, because Dre ain't fucking her no more. So she go back and tell Gary she pregnant by my nigga Dre, which was a lie. So he called Poe crying. He still fucking my girl. He told me he wasn't gonna fuck my girl. Call that nigga. So Poe had beat Dre. Like, man, I got some shit. Woo, Dre was like, man, I'm gonna go ahead and grab it from you. Fuck it. Since our plug rolled out. I told my nigga Dre don't leave me. He left me anyway. And they put my nigga in a trick bag. Took like $250 or $300 from him or something. $275 or $375 from Dre. My nigga got killed in the back of a caravan. He went to meet Alpo the Rat. And they put him in a trick bag. I told that nigga that day, don't leave him. I'm going with you. There's too much shit going on to meet them niggas by yourself. He okayed it. I got you, my nigga. And he left me anyway. I wish I was with him. Shit wouldn't happen that way. It'd been two of us. I would have my strap out. And they would have tricked my nigga like that. But the same token, my nigga didn't know what was going on because he wasn't fucking Caprice. The bitch Caprice was still lying on my nigga, saying she was pregnant by him, this, that, and that. My nigga wasn't fucking. So he was blind to the situation. You know, it is what I gotta respect the game. You know what I'm saying? I don't like the way it played out, but man, it is what it is, you know, and I should finish the game.
Didn't y'all kill someone else that was from the crew?
His name was Andre.
Right, whatever happened to him?
Yeah, we killed him. Yeah, we killed Andre. And this guy was spending a lot of money, man. Killed him for two reasons, actually. One is he was messing with my man Gary's girl.
Okay.
And we told him to leave her alone.
Okay.
That was the main reason, because he was messing with my man Gary's girl, and we found out about it. So being that he was dealing with me, I kind of like was able to talk to my man Gary and tell Gary, like, yo, check this out, dude is spending money with me, just chill out, we're not gonna do nothing to him. So I went.
He's spending good money?
Huh?
He's spending good money?
Man, the man was spending about $400,000 every month with me. Whew. About $400,000 every month. At least that. He found out that I was messing with his girl, you know, he came to kind of like put it together and find out, but he never said nothing. Now, he met my man's girl somewhere, somehow, and he booked her, and they was doing their thing. And the girl, Caprice, was kind of like, she was starting to get real unhappy with my man Gary, because he really had her on lockdown, kept her in the house with the baby and all that. She couldn't really do nothing and all that. We had bought her a convertible BM and all that, but she couldn't really drive it. When she drove it, she had to be certain places. So he really had her on lock and had her scared. So this kid Andre met her or whatever, and, you know, I guess, so we found out about it. My man Gary found out about it, and he called me. This is when we was tight like that. He called me, he was like, yo, Paul, I need to talk to you. I said, all right. So I met him or whatever. He was like, yo, this nigga Tank messing with my girl. This and that, man. I'm going to step to him. He know that's my people and all that. I said, hold up, Gary, let me. And my man Gary was like, yo, that's it. He was ready to just take him out. So because he knew that was Gary's baby mother, and you didn't do that.
Right.
So, and, you know, I'm boning Andre's girl, so I'm like, oh, man. So let me go talk to him first. And again, the kid Andre never said nothing to me. He knew I was boning girl. He never said nothing to me. So, and he wasn't no tough guy. Nothing. He didn't, you know, he was about getting $1. So okay. I went to go talk. I said, yo, Andre, check this out. You know, me and you doing business. Money's good. This and that. But yo, you got to stop boning Gary's girl, man. You got to stop messing with her, man, because he knows he's upset. And, you know, he giving fair warning. I mean, he's letting this one go. Because he don't believe y'all had sex or whatever. And I don't even want to know. But whatever you're doing with her, let it go, man. No, it ain't worth it, man. And he was like, yo, I hear you good looking out, this and that. He told me this straight in my face. About 2-3 weeks passed. My man Gary called me, Ken. He beat me. Yo, come see me, man. So I go meet him. Kid Andre got to die, man. Caprice and this and that. I said, all right, man. He said, man, this time I want to talk to him. So I said, all right, no problem. So I had a deal with the kid Andre for about $270,000. Okay. About $270,000. This day he wanted some drugs. So I said, yo, we killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to meet him, take care of this business with him, and you can talk to him at the same time. Okay. So I go meet the kid.
Produced by
we go meet the kid at my favorite spot over there, Minnesota and Pennsylvania Avenue, over there by the Ammo. I told Gary, I said, just chill, man. Let me go talk to him. I had my 5.0 this day. I said, let me go talk to him, and then you come. So I got into the truck. I told the kid Andre, I said, what's up, man? I said, everything all right? He said, yeah. I said, well, what's going on, man? You bad? He said, nah, this and that. So my man Gary, here come my man Gary. As I'm talking to the kid Andre jumped into the back of the caravan to go get the money out and all that. Okay. And I was over in the passenger seat. So my man Gary, he comes from out my car, which he was in the passenger, and comes around through the driver's side to the empty seat. So the kid Andre is coming from the back seat to the middle seat now with the bag of money. So as soon as the kid Andre turns around to look at me and let me know that the bag that my man Gary is coming in the car and hit him right in the head. Boom! My man Gary was strapped all the time. He knew he was going to kill him, but he knew not to tell me because I was going to tell him, no, don't do that. So now I'm like, oh, Gary, what the hell? He was like, yo, man, what the hell with that dude, man? He was this and that, disrespect. I said, all right. But in my mind, I'm saying, yeah, you're right. Because now I got the girl all to myself, so we killed 2 birds with 1. I'm saying I'm going to miss the money, but I got the girl now, too. I got the 270 now. So I take the money. I said, man, what the hell? I take the money. He had a Rolex on. We left all that. I said, man, follow me in the car, man. Go. I said, here, take this bag. Take the car. Follow me. So we drove about 5-6 blocks away from that area. Right. And like in a residential area, a nice quiet block. Just threw him down on the floor. Wiped off everything that we touched and all that. And just left him there. And they found him like 2 days later, 3 days later, because from the stench of the body and all that. Because it was like summertime, so his body started stinking, and they found him.
Did the girl think that you did that?
No, she didn't think it at first, because she beat me as soon as she found out. It was like, yo, they killed Andre. She crying. So, you know, I'm like, hold on, boo-boo, don't worry about it. We're going to find out who did that. So I'm going over there, comforting her and telling her to calm down and this and that. And so now we got that 270, and I give my man 100,000. I keep 170, and that was that on that one.
You know, like I said, man, you know, coming from Alpo the Rat, who the fuck can't believe the shit he say out his mouth? You dig? He ain't credible, you know what I'm saying? Because he tell his story, not the whole motherfucking story, you dig? Or the truth to the whole situation on the matter. Like I said, I wasn't there, so I don't know who pulled the trigger. So who the fuck know he didn't do it? How we didn't know he got in the car with my nigga, and my nigga got in the back, he backdoor my nigga. Who say that? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So, and I damn sure can believe that red ass nigga Alpo the rat. That nigga's a scumbag.
Now, why did you kill Richard?
Rich? The question to everybody with that, Rich. The reason why Richard and I had developed a relationship with a dude that just started off as one of my customers. Me and him had built a relationship where we became like real tight, like me and Rich in New York. This kid was me and Rich in D.C.
Okay. What was his name?
His name was Gary.
Gary.
Yeah, little Gary.
Is that the one that they say got his dick cut off?
Yeah, that's the one they say got his dick cut off, yeah.
Was that a situation from you?
Yeah.
That was?
I wound up killing little Gary later on. This kid was good. He was probably about 3 years younger than me. He was a murderer too. He was about his murder game.
Okay.
This was my little man.
But we did recover a bunch of blood off the back of the front driver's seat. And so I thought, based on the information that we started to develop about how the murder happened, that blood should have been Gary Terrell's blood. But unfortunately, we ended up with a lab report that said found on Terrell's body was unique carpet fibers from the van. Not only carpet fibers from the storage area of the van, which was the back sort of baggage compartment of the van, but carpet fibers from the front part of the van. So in other words, two sort of unique styles of carpet fiber that were on Terrell's body.
So you knew definitely he had.
Yeah, we knew he had been in the van. And we also found in the van fibers from his clothing that he had worn that night. And we also found his fingerprints in the van. So we knew he was in the van. And, of course, they left him, shot him and left him out in the park, up in Rock Creek Park. And they stripped him down to make it look like it was some kind of sexual assault against him. But it was, very simply a homicide where they just were trying to make it look like it wasn't them who killed him.
It came a thing with him where he was, he was a short kind of guy. He was about 5'1", 5'2", real slim in the body and a real big head.
Okay.
But he was getting money, though. People didn't know he was getting money. At that time, he was probably holding about $1 million, $2 million, and people didn't know that he was holding like that. He was getting it. And he had a real short man complex.
Okay.
Okay, and like I said, we wasn't just business partners. I knew a lot of his business. I knew his family. He knew my family in D.C. and in New York. I knew his son's mother. I knew where he laid his head. He knew where I laid my head sometimes. I knew some of his stashes. He knew some of my stashes. We became real close.
Okay.
So, and he was also the one with me with Rich.
Okay.
So we had a lot of secrets on one another. And he had the short man complex, and he started to become real jealous with me as far as through the people, because the people used to, since I was Alpo, people used to see him with me all the time and think he was working for me.
Right.
Because not until I came to D.C. really, he started coming out with like Benzes and all, because he seen what I was doing, so he started busting out with little Benzes and all that type of 300 coupes and all that.
Right.
And I always had the reputation if you lent me your car, Antoine, automatically that was my car.
Right.
That was my car. And then if they seen you with it, like, oh yeah, he driving Poe car. So time went on. One day, me and him and one of his workers would sit at a table at a restaurant having a sandwich, and he called my wife a bitch. He called my wife a bitch because he was like, man, you still with that crazy bitch? And I just looked over at him, and I could have took it a little better if it was just me and him. But one of his workers was there.
Right.
And I kind of like gave him that look like, yo, you really disrespected me right now. And so he seen her. She was coming to look for me down Southwest because she knew I hung out down there. So the kid, Gary, seen her. He was like, yo, there go that bitch. Look at that bitch. Who she looking for? She must be looking for Poe. And my man Wayne heard him say this. And he beat me. He beat me later. He was like, yo, Gary was down here talking trash about you and he disrespected your wife. I was going to kill him right there, but I said, let me get with you first. Because I was like, no, I still got love for the kid. No, he's just frustrated right now. And we had a lot of secrets on one another, and I always told them before this happened, I said, you know, we know so much about one another that if we was to ever get into any type of confusion or anything, one of us would have to leave. And I'm definitely not going back to New York because I'm getting money. So the only thing else is one of us will have to die. He was like, yo, I feel you, because we knew a lot about one another. So now I got this deal coming up with this connect, like, yo, this crazy big deal. Like, yo, they want me to put up like, I had to put up like maybe about $2 million. They was going to hit me with like probably about, I say anywhere from like $6 million worth of coke in New York.
Produced by
you hear me?
Contrast
Yeah, it was like about $6 million. So they wanted me to put up like $2 million, and I owe $4. Okay. Right? So I had like 1.5. I put up like 1.5, and I was just telling my little man for him to just put up a $500,000. Okay. I was able to put up the whole. I could have put up the whole $2 million at that time. Okay. This would have just set us on the map for, and it was at like 11,000 a key, 10,000 a key. I could have came to DC and got 19,000. To the dudes who I didn't really like and the dudes who I was real cool with, I could have got 17. You know, that was like $6,000, $8,000 profit. So before this goes about, his anger is really building up with me, and he's not really feeling me like that anymore. And we really had stopped hanging out, but I didn't really pay no attention to it. I'm saying I still got love for this kid and all that. So he tells somebody down in Lawton Prison about this deal. He told somebody that he was cool with down there. Only thing he didn't know that the same person that he's telling, they know my man, Wayne. My man Wayne, he get to me and say, yo, you about to put a deal together in New York for this, that, and gonna put gas. I said, what the hell? I said, how you know? He said, well, man, my man called me down from Lawton. He said, Gary told him that, yo, that you want to put this deal together and it ain't gonna go, he gonna wind up doing you in the process. Just how much anger he built up for me. So I said, oh, yeah. So my man was like, yo, let's go. I said, no, we got to do this right now. Can't just be running up on Gary in broad daylight. That's going to come back to us. So we got to do this right, and we got to get him where nobody know. So my little man Gary, he had a little beef with somebody, and they just, like, maybe like a month earlier, they tried to kill him. And so he beats me one night and said, yo, kid, one of the kids' name was Jawbreaker out of D.C., the kid named Jawbreaker. He said, yo, I know where Jawbreaker them at. This is Gary talking to us on the phone. Like, yo, I know where the kid Jawbreaker them at. They had such and such, such and such. I said, oh, yeah. So I'm talking to him on the phone. I said, who you with? He said, yo, I'm by myself. I said, you got something? He said, yeah, I got 2 pistols with me now. I said, all right. I was with my man Wayne and like 2 other dudes that were under my man Wayne. So that was our perfect opportunity. My man Wayne was like, yo, this is it. Make it happen. Productions. So we jump in this kid MPV van, because we used to like using MPV van because they had the little side compartments. We could throw the pistols in there if the police pull us over real quick. So we jump in the MPV van, so I'm driving because since I was like the best driver. So we go meet the kid Gary, because this is a perfect opportunity. Don't nobody know he's with us now. And when he come up missing, we can always be like, man, I knew how to deny it quick. Okay. So we go get him. Boom. So we go get him. He gets into the MPV van. He parks his car, whatever. He parks his truck. He had the truck at the time. He parks his truck. I met him on, Florida Avenue. I go meet him on Florida Avenue by a Wendy's, I think it was. Okay. We get a little revolver out of the stash, and I give it to the dudes that's sitting in back of my man Gary. So my man Gary, he's in the middle, but he don't know that we done slipped the revolver to the back to the kid who's gonna hit him in the head. We ran for about 5-10 minutes after we get the gas. Bang! My man hit him. I give the signal through the rearview mirror. My man hit him with the revolver, 2 in the head. All you hear is, ugh, once he hit him, because the kid Gary was getting kind of sleepy, because we was about to be like, yo, we ain't going to catch these dudes. So, Gary was getting kind of sleepy, so he's like dozed off for a minute. So he never even seen it or felt it coming. So the kid hit him with the revolver, bow, bow, so the bullets don't go nowhere, because in the revolver, they don't pop out. Okay. So he hit him in the head twice. Down. Gary he winds up he winds up shitting on himself from his muscles relaxing.
Okay.
So, you know, he's stinking up the car and all that. So that's how the thing came about, that his dick was chopped off. So we had to find some woods. So I had to find somewhere to dump him at. So we wind up taking him in this park over on 16th Street in Northwest.
Okay.
I don't know if it's Potomac Park. I think it's called Potomac Park or something. So we wind up taking him over there. And I said, yo, man, we're going to leave him in the woods. So I said, yo. So we pull over in this real dark. I said, yo, take off his clothes, man, for they won't spot him through the clothes and all that. Take off his clothes, you know, and leave him naked in the woods. So we do that, and we dragging him through the woods naked. So he gets a couple of scratches on his body and his face and on his penis because, you know, we taking him through the bush. We dragging him. So that's how it came about that they thought we chopped off his dick and all that. And I thought where we left him at was real cool, but we wound up leaving him next to some type of telephone box or something. And the next day, just so happened that the telephone people was coming out to fix this box. And that's how they found him the next day.
You and Big Head Gary pretty much knew each other's whereabouts and whatnot. So now when this situation happened with Big Head Gary, did you go take all his money? No. Actually, I did it. His money, I didn't even go, that wasn't even a concern of mine to get his money. And again, when I say we knew stash, I mean, I didn't know where the lump sum was, but I knew he kept money at his sister's house. I knew he kept money at his girl house and all that in the backyard and all that, but I didn't go hit none of his spots and all that. I just, I took care of my situation that I needed to take care of, and that was it. I wasn't even thinking about that I'm going to rob him and all that. You never turned your man Wayne on to anyone? What, to rob somebody? Yeah. No, we didn't have to. We didn't have to rob him. We was getting enough money. That's right. We was getting enough money from the coke and all that, and I was just about to make a major move down there in this place called Potomac Gardens. This is like one of the biggest drug-infested complexes in D.C., Potomac Gardens. And Wayne was so feared that, we was about to just because I was about to move on to Atlanta, and I knew I was going to leave Wayne and them in D.C., so I wanted to leave him with something established.
Doing what I had to do for me, as far as testifying and all that, I had to confess to those murders. I had to tell.